What is up, gods and goddesses? It's your boy Hollywood AJ back with another episode of the one and only Keep It 100 podcast. I should be doing homework right now, but instead I'm providing quality entertainment from you guys. I'm working very hard to give you guys my opinions on the hottest topics in sports, my predictions for the past and upcoming UFC fights, and not only UFC, but boxing, celebrity boxing. You name it, I'm everywhere. I'm on TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, just trying to be the quality entertainer that I know I am. Now, normally I like to give my predictions for the UFC fights early in the week, like Monday, Tuesday, but I've had to talk about some other things at hand. I know it's Wednesday, so now it's time to focus on the true task, give you guys my prediction for this weekend's big, juicy fight card, that being UFC 268, Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington 2. I'm going to go over just the main card like I did for UFC 267. So let's dive right into it, y'all. Frankie Edgar versus Marlon Vieira. That is a very big fight for Frankie Edgar. His last fight was a disappointing performance. He got turned into a highlight reel against Corey Sandhagen, who just fought for the title last weekend. And Frankie Edgar is kind of the beginning of the end of his career. I say he has one more title shot available. He has one more run available. And, if he can get this done against the new up-and-comer Marlon Chito Vera, then we're going to see if Frankie Edgar is done or not. This is one of those fights that the UFC likes to do where they can either see if the old guard is still as good as the new guard. Can the old guard prove that, hey, I'm not done, I still have more in the tank? Marlon Vera, he's been around, I'd say, for a good 5 years in the UFC. His biggest notable win was against Sugar Sean O'Malley back at UFC 252 in August of 2020. They were the co-main event to Stipe and DC 3. And ever since then, he hasn't really fought to his true potential. He fought Jose Aldo, lost that fight. He fought a number level of guys and hasn't lived up to the hype that we know he could live up to. I mean, like I said, he beat Sean O'Malley. We thought, hey, strap a rocket to this guy's back because he is going to the moon. But no, he was somewhat in the limelight, but not as much of a limelight that Sean O'Malley is in. So that's a big fight. It could truly put Marlon in the top 10. He beat a legend, and he has some pull. If he beats Frankie Edgar, he's like, hey, I should deserve a shot at this guy or to fight this guy to get me to a title shot. Whereas Frankie Edgar, if he beats Marlon, we could see the beginning of the end of Frankie Edgar in terms of, hey, I got one more run left in me. Let's get this going. I just beat an up-and-coming guy. Give me another legend, and then give me a title shot. But as far as my prediction for this fight goes, I'd have to say Frankie Edgar wins via decision. We saw the last time Frankie Edgar fought another up-and-comer was back in 2017, UFC 211. That was when he fought Yair Rodriguez, when Yair just looked unstoppable. We know what he did to him. Just took him down, ground and pounded him. I think Frankie's going to use Frankie's going to use his wrestling a lot more than we have seen. He's been using his stand-up, using his range. He has amazing footwork. He does have power. Let's not forget his knockout against Chad Mendes. But I think he'll use his wrestling a lot more, and that'll be his key to victory when he beats Marlon this Saturday night. We got Shane Burgos versus Billy Corontilo. Billy was on The Ultimate Fighter. Shane had his last performance against Edson Barbosa, which was a great fight. One of my favorite fights on UFC 262. I think it's going to be a great fight. Definitely not, no title implications on the line. Not really a rankings. It was just a fight to fill in the card, basically. I think they should have put Ally Aquinta and Bobby Green instead of this fight on the main card, but I'm not the matchmaker of the UFC. So therefore, this fight is on there. I got Shane winning. I say a decision. That fight is going to be a good one. I'd say you should definitely grab your popcorn and sit down. It could be a potential fight of the night, but nothing like the big one. One of the fights that I'm looking forward to most on this card, that being Michael Chandler versus Justin the Highlight Gaethje. Both of these guys in the lead up to this fight have that mentality of, I'm looking forward to either making a highlight or being a highlight. And when those two guys have already succumbed to that mindset, fireworks is guaranteed. It is a true make or break fight for both of these guys, in my opinion. They're both coming off losses. Both of their last fights were for the title. Justin Gaethje fought Khabib Nurmagomedov after he was looking unstoppable against Tony Ferguson, unstoppable against Edson Barbosa, Cowboy Cerrone. The list goes on. he is never in a boring fight. Let's not forget that war he had against Dustin Poirier back in 2018. If he wins that fight, he could be next in line for a shot at the winner of Oliveira and Poirier. This is a very important fight, not only for these two guys, but for the landscape of the division. This fight will happen, and then the title fight between Oliveira and Poirier will happen December 11th. And it's kind of a four-man tournament, if you really look at it. Kind of like, okay, Michael Chandler wins, he could get another shot at the title. Justin Gaethje wins, he could get another shot at the title. It just has that feeling, in my opinion. So Michael Chandler won that first round against Charles Oliveira. He dropped him. He has power. I give the power advantage to him. I definitely give the wrestling advantage to him. Both D1 wrestlers, with Justin Gaethje training in Colorado. He wrestled at the University of Northern Colorado. Beautiful canvas, by the way. He wrestled there, got inducted to the Hall of Fame not that long ago. Michael Chandler wrestled at Mizzou. Both guys truly have D1 experience, but I give it to Chandler. I give the striking advantage to Chandler. But I don't see wrestling being a big factor in this fight. I see Michael Chandler going out there. I say if he fights smart, he'll win. But I have him winning no matter what. If he gets into a firefight, I think he'll land a very good punch that will put the lights out for Justin Gaethje. And Michael Chandler will be back on to his winning ways. Then we get to the first title fight. Rose Namajunas, Thug Rose versus Zhang Weili. I'm at a standstill. Not on Rose's part, but on Zhang Weili's side. I'm a little bit weirded out because she is making a ton of excuses reminiscent to Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. A ton of excuses. I mean, she's saying, oh, the crowd wasn't on my side, so that's why I lost. The time difference is why I lost. Oh, I wasn't ready. Oh, this, oh, that. Bitch, you got beat. In fact, there shouldn't even be a rematch for this fight. It wasn't a competitive fight. Zhang Weili landed one significant strike, while Rose landed 12 and ultimately knocked her the fuck out. Beautiful head kick. Rose was going to the legs, just leg kick, leg kick, setting it up. And then, just when Weili thought that leg kick was coming straight to her leg, boom, came up high. All the lights went out in China. The Great Wall of China was officially brought down that night because up until that point, Zhang Weili was considered the greatest Chinese fighter in the UFC. Of course, you got Li Jingliang, but look at what happened to him last week against Khamzat Chimaev. Albeit different timetables, but Zhang Weili was looked at as the GOAT coming out of China. Rose shut all that shit down. Just like Mariah Carey was going to do on Wild 'N Out, Rose shut all that shit down. There shouldn't even be a rematch for this fight. The only reason why there is because they're building a UFC Performance Institute in China, and in a way, they're kind of banking on Weili to somewhat win this fight in order for them to truly promote their brand in China, to bring up the future up-and-coming stars in China. And it would be kind of a black eye when Zhang Weili loses. Who are you going to have? Li just lost. Weili just lost. Who are you going to have to truly promote? Kung Lee, okay, if it was 2011, you could have him promote. But no, other than that, it's just truly something that just does not need to happen. Rose outclassed her. Zhang Weili's training with Henry Cejudo, Triple C, Olympic gold medalist, and two-division UFC champion. Cool. I love it, but it's not going to help you. You mean to think that all the knowledge that Henry Cejudo has soaked up over his entire career in not only wrestling but mixed martial arts can go into Weili in an 8-week training camp? No. I'm not saying fighters can't adapt or discover a new training regimen or discover a new fighting style. I mean, all the greats do that. But I don't think Weili has that in her. I think she is used to one form of martial arts that she's going to go and try and wrestle Rose Namajunas. Let's not forget how much of a beast Rose Namajunas is on the ground. All 3 of her victories when she was on The Ultimate Fighter were submissions. She has a submission win over Paige Van Zandt. Ever heard of her? She has a submission victory over a who's who in the women's strawweight division. I have seen Rose Namajunas grow in front of my eyes, from her time on season 20 of The Ultimate Fighter when Anthony Pettis and Gilbert Melendez were the coaches, to her losing her first shot at the title against Carla Esparza, to her returning to MSG for this fight, to where she won the strawweight title back at UFC 217, where she defeated Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I mean, that title fight had me just bolstering with confidence for her. She became one of my all-time favorite women fighters after her victory over Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She does great in rematches. She beat Joanna in the second fight at UFC 223. She defeated Jessica Andrade after getting slammed on her head at UFC 237. She thrives in rematches and she thrives under pressure. She is the type of girl that is not scared of the moment. No one thought she was going to win that fight against Weili the first time. No one. And if she was going to win, it was going to be either a decision or submission. And that's how I see this fight going. If Weili thinks that she's going to have a walk in the park on the ground if she takes down Rose, she's going to be in for a rude awakening. That is just guaranteed. Rose will just pick her apart and submit her. I do think Rose will submit her. I think Weili's going to be more prepared. She's going to be more tentative. She's going to be more aware of the knockout and the threat of Rose, not only with her legs, with her Muay Thai, but with her boxing as well. Rose dropped Joanna, who was one of the best female boxers on the UFC roster. Rose is a badass, and that's why I think we're going to see a lot more of her full arsenal. And another bullshit statement that Weili said was, if she beat me over the course of 3 to 5 rounds, then I would just come to the fact that she's a better fighter. Bitch, you got knocked out. I don't even know if you're still awake for this fight to even happen. You got concussed truly bad. This fight shouldn't be happening because Rose played basketball with your head. Rose is going to prove that this fight should not have happened, and Weili's going to get hurt. She's not going to, get permanently hurt, and I don't wish that on anybody, but Weili's going to get hurt. Rose is going to submit her in the second round. I think Rose is going to hurt her at the end of the first round. Weili's going to barely survive. Second round, Rose is just going to come out, take her down, get her in a rear naked choke. That's that. Rose is the baddest, greatest, and my all-time favorite female UFC fighter on the planet Earth. I'm a huge fan. Let's get into the main event. Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington. The first fight happened at UFC 245 back in December of 2019. Feels like forever ago. That fight was an instant classic. You have all these other supposed experts that don't really know anything about UFC or MMA the way I do that thought, this wasn't a competitive fight. We don't need to see it again. We did need to see it again, but we got some finality. I'll get to more on that later. But we knew that this fight was going to be an instant classic. I knew something was going to happen. I was glued to my TV from the start. I remember my friends Carl, John, Trevor, we all came over. We were just ready and waiting for the main event because we knew this was going to be a fight that you do not want to miss, and that is the case for this rematch. The first fight happened, and both guys have heavy wrestling backgrounds. These two guys threw all that out the window, and they went toe-to-toe. Strike after strike, body kick after body kick. The only bullshit statement that Colby Covington has been making is that Usman faked the eye poke and he faked the nut shot. It's clean. MMA fighters know some wear cups. If it even grazes you, that shit hurts. And eye pokes are legitimate in MMA. It's just a part of it. Now, Covington, we know, puts on the cardio. And he did that a lot in the first fight. He cracked Usman a few times. I was actually a little bit scared because Covington landed a really good uppercut that had Usman looking up at the sky. He landed a beautiful right hook that had Usman wobbled a bit. And I'm like, oh man, Covington might get this done. He definitely gave Usman his hardest fight. But Usman, like the true champion he is, he didn't fold. He stood in the center of that octagon and went toe-to-toe with Covington, who was not known as a striker. Was it part of an emotional game plan that Covington had in his mind where I'm just going to throw the old game plan out and go toe-to-toe with Usman? Or am I just going to prove that, hey, I can knock this guy out? That's what it kind of looked like. But at the end, we saw just an instant firefight, dogfight between two of the best welterweights in the world. And in the end, Usman landed an amazing right hand right down the pipe. There's rumors saying if Covington got his jaw broke, he didn't. He did. I think he did. Beautiful pullback right that Usman landed at the end of round 3 definitely caused that. It just goes to show the toughness that Colby Covington has. He fought 2.5 rounds with a broken jaw and even won a round after that. I had the first round for Covington, I had the second and third for Usman, and I had the fourth for Covington. It was 2-2 going into the 5th round. It was anyone's fight. And Usman proved why he was the best, why he was the champ. Finished Colby Covington. As I mentioned, landed a beautiful right hand straight down the pipe. And if I'm being honest, I thought it was a little bit of an early stoppage. I know you have to intelligently defend yourself, but I've seen worse go on. I say let Colby fight through that for another 10 seconds. And if he wasn't doing anything for another 10, 12 seconds, then stop that fight. But other than that, Usman proved that he has a championships mentality and that he is the best in the world. And over time, he's proved that he's the best in the world. He defeated Jorge Masvidal on 6 days' notice. He defeated Gilbert Burns, dropped Gilbert Burns with a jab. You know how prolific of a striker you need to be to drop someone with a jab? Ever since he moved to Colorado to train with Trevor Whitman and Justin Gaethje and Rose Namajunas, he has just added more tools to his toolbox. He's gained a lot more knockout power. In that first fight with Colby Covington, he didn't really have the knockout power that we're used to seeing now, which is why when he did knock out Covington, it was actually really shocking. I thought it was going to be a wrestling heavy fight in that first fight, and it wasn't. That's why it was one of the best classics in the welterweight division. It's up there with Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald. So we've seen Usman defeat Gilbert Burns. Just amazing. Then he erased all the doubt that anyone ever had from his first fight with Jorge Masvidal with one of the nastiest knockouts I have ever seen in UFC history. I mean, in boxing, you see, the beginning of the round happens, a fighter lands a good clean shot and the sweat flies off. In all my years of watching UFC, which has been 14 strong years, I have never seen a knockout like that. Sure, you have other great knockouts like Terry Edom versus Edson Barbosa. You have Jorge versus Ben Askren. But this one, that particular one that Kamaru Usman had against Jorge just had me saying, Jesus Christ. I said it about 5 times. Jesus Christ. And as I kept seeing the replay, I got goosebumps, and I'm getting goosebumps now. That's why I had to check my arm. I mean, that knockout is probably one of my favorite knockouts in UFC history by far. So if you look at their fights ever since they met back at UFC 245, Usman has fought 3 times. Twice against Masvidal, once against Burns, while Colby Covington has only fought once, and that was a year ago. September 19th, 2020, he fought Tyron Woodley. And he put on a clinic. There were some concerns going into that fight because Colby Covington left ATT. He wanted a change of scenery. He basically said, I have too much negative energy around me. People are looking at me in a weird way. People think I'm just too negative. Therefore, that negativity is being brought down to me. And he talked about all that on the Countdown show. So he went to MMA Masters down in Hialeah, Florida, which is not that far from Miami, but it's a very ghetto gym. I'm just being honest. They barely have a sign. It was hilarious, actually, because it's like they barely had any money to scrape that place up and make it a gym. There's not many well-known guys that are training out of that gym. Colby Covington is the main guy. The whole team, the whole mantra, the whole fight week is centered around Colby Covington, which is good. But when you're fighting a monster like Kamaru Usman, is that enough to get the job done? As much of a prick as Colby Covington is, the guy can fight. And I love the way he fights. I love the fight he had against Robbie Lawler, where he just put the pace on him and landed a record 500 strikes in the course of 5 rounds. That is unheard of. Of course, Max Holloway went on and broke that. But at the time, that was just like, wow, this dude is a force to be reckoned with. This guy is a problem. But when you change camps like that and you leave a powerhouse like ATT, albeit Usman did that, But he left to Colorado to a guy that is so good, such a mastermind in MMA. Before Kamaru Usman came in to that camp, he only had 2 fighters under his wing. He only had 2 students. It was Rose Namajunas and Justin Gaethje. And when you add Kamaru Usman, you're just going to get better. Kamaru Usman was already great, but now he's better. And he's proved that. Trevor Whitman's going to be a busy man. He has all 3 of his students fighting back to back to back, but he's done it before. Can he get things done? For 2 of those fighters, I think he will. With that being said, I think Kamaru Usman does defeat Colby Covington. I think the key thing in this fight will be wrestling. As I mentioned twice already, there wasn't one takedown attempt from either man in this fight who have heavy wrestling credentials. Not one. I don't think there will be a takedown from Kamaru's side. I think it will be from Colby Covington. I think early on in the fight, Colby might initiate the wrestling a lot more than we will anticipate it, which will make Usman be forced to wrestle. And then the farther the fight goes, I think it'll favor Usman. He's already fought twice this year. This will be his 3rd fight. It might be his final fight this year. While this will be Colby Covington's first fight of the year. I give the later down the stretch part of the fight for Usman. But for at least 2 rounds, Usman will have his hands full. I do think Colby Covington will go back to having that volume. He will probably be noticeably angry walking into that octagon, and he might expose himself to potential holes, which that will lead Usman to landing that kill shot. I think he wins. It's not going to be in the early parts of the fight. I'd have to say a 3rd round TKO, late 3rd round, like 30 seconds left in the 3rd round. Usman lands a good shot that drops Covington. I think the beating goes on longer than it should, and we'll have finality as to who is the best 170-pounder on the planet Earth, that being Kamaru Usman. So let me run through my picks one more time. I have Frankie Edgar defeating Marlon Vieira via decision. Shane Burgos beating Billy Corontilo by decision. Michael Chandler defeating Justin Gaethje, 2nd round KO. Rose Namajunas defeating Wei Li, 2nd round submission. And I have Kamaru Usman defeating Colby Covington via 3rd round TKO. So I have 2 decisions, 3 finishes. It's a juicy card, guys. I would not want to miss it. And oh, how can I forget Caleb Plant versus Canelo? I don't know why they do this. I don't know why they have a big UFC fight the same night as a Canelo fight. But the last time they did this was UFC 244 when Jorge Masvidal fought Nate Diaz. Canelo was fighting that same night. I remember Ryan Garcia fought that same night as well. But what they did, because the fight was in New York and the fight is in Las Vegas, same situation here. What they're probably going to do is they're going to have the Canelo fight on, because we know boxing likes to monologue. They're going to have all those prelims no one cares about. They're going to have all those while the UFC fight's going to go on. UFC goes on. They don't care if fights end in 1 second. They don't care if fights end in... They don't care how long it takes. The fight is going to go on. There's not going to be no monologuing like there is in boxing. Whereas in boxing, you're going to have Canelo saying, I'm walking out at 10. I don't care if those 4 fights before mine end in the 1st round. I'm walking out at 10. So what they might do is they might show the fight at MGM, and then as soon as the UFC fight is over, that's when Canelo's going to walk. And we might be able to have that 2-for-1 special where we see the main event end for UFC 268, and we go over and watch Canelo win. The only prediction I have is that there's no way on God's green earth Caleb Plant is defeating Canelo. That's it. I mean, I know Caleb Plant has an amazing story. I feel so sad for him because his daughter passed away at a very, very young age, and he made a promise to her that he was going to be world champion. He did that, cool. But there's no way. After what I saw at that press conference where Canelo slipped a slap and then gave the 2 pieces, the 2 tacos with the horchata, there's no way on God's green earth Caleb Plant wins. And that's all I have to say about that. I don't care what round Canelo ends it. I don't care if it goes a distance. I would bet the house on Canelo to just win, because that's what's going to happen. There's no one on Canelo's level to even touch him. And he's just going to prove that. You're not going to miss anything spectacular. Canelo's going to do exactly what Canelo is going to do. That's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please give me a like and subscribe. Comment your picks on this weekend's UFC 268 fight card. Comment your pick on Canelo's fight. Let me know if you have the same picks as me, and let me know which fight you're looking forward to most. Are you looking forward to the boxing match? Are you looking forward to the UFC fight? I'm looking forward to the UFC fight because I already know what's going to happen with the Canelo. UFC, diehard fan. I'm going to be watching that glued to my TV. And also, what I wanted to bring to your guys' attention is a fight companion. I'm looking for anyone that is a UFC fan that has ever thought about watching the fights. I'm looking forward to doing a fight companion in the upcoming months. So get at me. I post all my social media handles after each one of my videos. If you're looking to join, just message me. I'll reply, and we could figure out something, and we could get the first fight companion under our belts in the near future. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Oh, I got to put my hat around because this is my new thing. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay blessed, and as always, keep it 100. I'm out.